I'm Samantha, 32 years old, working as an accountant in Boston. My life has been a constant shadow to my younger sister Olivia, who somehow always managed to be the favorite child without even trying. Our family dynamic was clear from early on, but nothing prepared me for what happened last weekend. A simple text notification changed everything. It was a family photo from my parents' anniversary celebration, a celebration I knew nothing about. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from and hit that like button if you've ever felt invisible in your own family. Trust me, what I did next will show you it's never too late to stand up for yourself. Growing up in Connecticut, our family seemed perfect on the surface. My father worked as a successful surgeon at Hartford Hospital, while my mother built her reputation as a corporate lawyer at one of the state's most prestigious firms. We lived in a beautiful colonial house in an upscale neighborhood where appearances mattered more than anything else. From an early age, I noticed how my parents' eyes would light up whenever Olivia entered a room. 3 years younger than me, she had our mother's naturally blonde hair and sociable personality. I took after our father's side with brown hair and a more reserved nature. While I watched from the sidelines, Olivia effortlessly became the star of every family gathering. The pattern became undeniable as we grew older. When Olivia turned 16, my parents surprised her with a brand new Audi A3. When my 16th birthday came around 3 years earlier, I received driving lessons and occasional access to my mother's old car. The disparity hurt, but I told myself it was because times were different, or maybe they had more money now. I still remember my high school graduation when I finished as valedictorian. My parents hosted a small dinner at home with just the four of us. 6 months later, when Olivia graduated with a B average, they rented out the country club's ballroom and invited over 50 guests to celebrate her academic achievement. Instead of competing for attention, I could never win. I poured myself into academics. Perfect grades became my shield, my way of proving my worth. I joined every academic club, won science competitions, and secured a full scholarship to Boston University. The day my scholarship letter arrived, my father glanced at it and said, "That's nice, you've always been practical." That same evening, they spent 30 minutes on the phone congratulating Olivia for making the cheerleading squad at her school. Over time, I built emotional walls brick by brick. I learned to expect nothing and appreciate the small moments of recognition that occasionally came my way. By 18, I had mastered the art of self-reliance out of necessity. Boston was my escape, a chance to reinvent myself 3 hours away from the constant reminder of being second best. College became my sanctuary. I made real friends who valued me for who I was, not how I compared to someone else. I excelled in my accounting program, secured internships that led to job offers, and gradually built a life that didn't revolve around seeking parental approval. My chosen family of friends celebrated my promotions, comforted me through breakups, and never made me feel like I wasn't enough. Yet despite the distance and independence I'd cultivated, a part of me still yearned for my parents' approval. I dutifully returned home for major holidays and family events, always hoping that this time would be different. That this time they might see me. My life in Boston had become everything I worked for. At 32, I had a senior accounting position at a respected firm, a charming apartment in the South End neighborhood, and a small circle of fiercely loyal friends who knew my full story. From the outside, nobody would guess I carried the weight of family rejection everywhere I went. Despite the emotional toll, I maintained contact with my parents. Our relationship settled into a comfortable distance with monthly phone calls and visits during major holidays. I accepted that things would never be perfect, but I wanted to keep trying. After all, they were still my parents. When the invitation to their 35th wedding anniversary arrived via email, I immediately marked the date in my calendar. June 15th would be difficult timing with the tax season just ending, but I requested the day off months in advance. My boss approved it, knowing how rarely I asked for personal time. The invitation mentioned a small family gathering at Le Chateau, one of the most expensive French restaurants in Hartford. I knew my budget would be tight that month, due to some unexpected dental work, but I started saving anyway. I wanted to be there for this milestone. Finding the perfect gift became my mission. Olivia would undoubtedly give them something expensive, probably from her husband James's family money. I couldn't compete financially, but I could offer something meaningful. After much thought, I decided to create a custom photo album chronicling their 35 years together. For weeks, I spent every evening scanning old family photos, reaching out to relatives for pictures I didn't have, and arranging everything chronologically. I wrote heartfelt captions describing each memory, added elegant embellishments, and had the finished album professionally bound in leather with their names and anniversary date embossed in gold. It cost nearly $500 I could barely afford, but I was proud of creating something priceless. 2 weeks before the celebration, I texted my mother to confirm the time and dress code. No response. I tried calling both parents over the next few days, but only reached their voicemails. Even my email asking for clarification went unanswered. I told myself they must be busy with anniversary preparations. 5 days before the event, I called Olivia to coordinate. She sounded strange, hesitant, making vague comments about changes to the plans and promising to get back to me. She never did. An uneasy feeling settled in my stomach, but I dismissed it as paranoia from past disappointments. The day before the anniversary, I packed my overnight bag and wrapped the photo album in silver paper with a blue ribbon, their wedding colors. My dress was pressed, my train ticket purchased. Everything was ready. That evening, while finalizing details for my trip, my phone buzzed with an Instagram notification. Olivia had posted something. Normally I would check it later, but something compelled me to look immediately. What I saw stopped my heart. The post showed a group photo taken at Le Chateau, clearly from a celebration that had already happened. There stood my parents in formal attire, beaming with pride. Beside them was Olivia, in a designer dress, her husband James, and several extended family members, including my Aunt Susan and Uncle Robert. Everyone was smiling widely, champagne glasses raised in a toast. The caption read, "Wonderful celebration of 35 years of love, family first, anniversary." I stared at the image, uncomprehending. The celebration I'd been planning to attend for months had already happened without me. I hadn't even been told the date had changed. As I scrolled through more photos, one image made my blood run cold. A close-up of Olivia's wrist showing off a gleaming Cartier watch. The distinctive red box sat on the table beside her plate. The caption read, "Still in shock. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for this incredible anniversary gift. Love you both so much. Cartier, blessed." I recognized the watch instantly from browsing luxury sites I could never afford to shop from. It was a Cartier Ballon Bleu retailing for around $15,000. $15,000 that my parents spent on Olivia, while they couldn't even be bothered to invite me to their anniversary dinner. My hands began to shake so badly I dropped my phone. A wave of nausea washed over me as the reality sank in. I hadn't been forgotten. I had been deliberately excluded. My own parents had celebrated their anniversary with my sister, and extended family members given her an extravagant gift and intentionally kept me in the dark. I rushed to the bathroom and vomited my body, physically rejecting the painful truth. When I could stand again, I called Katie, my best friend since college. She arrived at my apartment 20 minutes later with ice cream and wine, finding me curled up on the couch, still in shock. "They didn't forget me," I whispered as she held me. "They chose not to include me. There's a difference." Katie's fury on my behalf was both comforting and validating. "This is beyond favoritism, Sam. This is emotional abuse. You don't deserve this. No one does." That night I cried more than I had in years, maybe more than I had in my entire adult life. All the emotions I'd suppressed came flooding out, the hurt child who could never measure up, the teenager who learned to expect disappointment, the adult still desperately seeking approval that never came. Katie stayed over, sleeping on my couch to make sure I wasn't alone. By morning, my eyes were swollen, nearly shut, but something had changed inside me. The pain was still there, but now it was accompanied by clarity. For the first time, I saw my family situation with perfect clarity, without the filter of hope or denial. I knew what I had to do. The next morning, I called in sick to work, something I'd done maybe twice in my entire career. I showered dressed in a simple but professional outfit and got into my car. The carefully wrapped photo album sat on the passenger seat as I began the 3-hour drive to Connecticut. No more phone calls. No more texts that went unanswered. This time, I would look them in the eyes when they dismissed me. I arrived at their house around 11:30 in the morning. Both cars were in the driveway along with Olivia's Mercedes SUV. So they were all there, probably rehashing the wonderful celebration I hadn't been allowed to attend. Perfect. I rang the doorbell and waited, photo album in hand. My mother opened the door, her smile freezing when she saw me standing there. "Samantha, what are you? We weren't expecting you." "Clearly," I replied, my voice steadier than I expected. "May I come in?" She hesitated before stepping aside. I walked into the house and followed the sound of voices to the dining room, where my father, Olivia, and James sat, enjoying what appeared to be a post-celebration brunch. Their conversation died immediately when I appeared in the doorway. "Samantha," my father said, surprise evident in his tone. "What brings you here today?" "I came to congratulate you on your anniversary," I said calmly, since I wasn't included in the actual celebration. An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. Olivia studied her plate intensely. James looked between family members, clearly sensing the tension, but not knowing its full history. "Let's talk in the living room," my mother suggested, always concerned about appearances even within our own home. We moved to the formal living room, the one reserved for important conversations and guests they wanted to impress. How fitting. "There must have been some misunderstanding," my father began once we were seated. "We had to change the date at the last minute. We thought you were too busy with work to rearrange your schedule." "Really?" "Because I called and texted both of you multiple times to confirm details. None of my messages received a response." "We've been so busy with the planning," my mother offered weakly. "Not too busy to contact Olivia, or Aunt Susan, or Uncle Robert, just too busy to include your other daughter." Olivia finally spoke up. "I thought Mom was contacting you about the change. I would have told you otherwise." "This was just a small gathering," my mother added. "We didn't think you'd want to come all this way for something so minor." "A small gathering with a $15,000 watch as a gift," I said. "That must be your definition of minor." My father's expression hardened. "The gift to your sister has nothing to do with you." "Nothing about this family has ever had anything to do with me," I responded. "That's becoming increasingly clear." "That's not fair, Samantha," my mother interjected. "We've always treated you and your sister equally." I couldn't help the bitter laugh that escaped me. "Equally in what universe?" My father's patience was visibly wearing thin. "You've never been interested in family celebrations anyway. You're always so wrapped up in your work and your life in Boston." And there it was, the justification I'd heard in various forms throughout my life. Somehow my independence, the very quality I'd developed because I couldn't rely on them for emotional support, had become the excuse for excluding me further. "I took time off work months ago when I received the invitation," I said. "I've been calling for weeks to confirm details. I created a special gift that took me over a month to make. Please explain how that translates to not being interested." As they scrambled for more excuses, something broke inside me. Years of silent acceptance suddenly seemed intolerable. If this was to be the last conversation we ever had, I wanted them to hear the truth. "This isn't just about the anniversary," I said. "This is about a lifetime of being the invisible daughter." "I know about the trust funds," I said, watching their expressions carefully. My father's face drained of color. My mother's hand flew to her throat. Olivia looked confused, glancing between our parents. "What are you talking about?" my father asked, but his voice lacked conviction. 10 years ago, when I was helping organize your home office during Christmas break. I found the financial documents. I know you set up a trust fund for Olivia when she turned 18. A substantial one. I also know you never did the same for me." The silence in the room was deafening. My mother looked like she might faint. "Those were private documents," my father finally said, his tone defensive rather than apologetic. "Yes, they were. And I never mentioned finding them because I was too hurt to even process what I discovered. But that was just the beginning, wasn't it? I did some investigating after that. The down payment on Olivia and James's house that came from you. The luxury trip to Italy for their honeymoon also from you. Her entire wedding paid in full by my loving parents. Olivia looked stunned. Sam, I didn't know you were aware of all that. Of course you didn't. Because this family specializes in secrets and pretending everything is fine. I turned back to my parents. What was your justification? Let me guess. Olivia needed more help. She had different circumstances, she asked, and I didn't. My mother finally found her voice. Samantha, you were always so independent. You got scholarships, you built your career, you never seemed to need our help. So I was punished for being self-sufficient while Olivia was rewarded for being dependent. Do you realize how twisted that logic is? We didn't think of it as punishment, my father said. You were doing fine on your own. I shook my head. You had no idea if I was doing fine. You never asked. Did you know I've been working 2 jobs for the past 6 months to pay off medical bills? Did you know I had a procedure in January that I couldn't tell you about because I knew you wouldn't care? Their shocked expressions confirmed they had no idea. I've been barely making ends meet while you're giving $15,000 watches to Olivia. But you know what hurts more than the financial disparity being erased from family events? Being an afterthought. Being invisible in my own family. That's not true, my mother protested weakly. The family photo from your anniversary says otherwise. Everyone was there except me. And none of you even had the decency to tell me the plans had changed. In that moment, looking at their shocked faces, I realized I was done. Done trying to earn love that should have been freely given. Done making excuses for their behavior. Done pretending their approval mattered. I reached into my bag and took out the carefully wrapped photo album I'd spent weeks creating. I placed it gently on the coffee table between us. I made this for your anniversary. It took me over a month to collect all the photos, write the captions, and have it bound. It cost nearly $500, which is a lot of money for me right now, though I realize that's pocket change compared to Olivia's watch. No one moved to touch the gift. My father stared at it like it might bite him. This will be the last gift I ever give you. I continued, my voice steady, despite the emotion threatening to overwhelm me. I'm done trying to be part of a family that doesn't want me. I'm done making excuses for why my own parents can't seem to love me the way they love my sister. Samantha, you're overreacting, my father said, but his voice lacked conviction. My 32 years of consistent behavior says otherwise. I stood up, gathering my purse. I need to step back from this relationship. It's not healthy for me anymore. My mother's eyes filled with tears. You can't mean that. We're your parents. Being parents requires more than biology. It requires actually parenting both your children, not just the one you prefer. Olivia rose from her seat, tears streaming down her face. Sam, please don't do this. We can work things out as a family. I looked at my sister, feeling a complex mix of emotions. This isn't your fault, Olivia. You didn't create this dynamic. But you've benefited from it your entire life, and you've never once stood up for me. I didn't realize, she whispered. I swear I didn't know how bad it was. Well, now you do, I replied. And now I need to take care of myself because no one in this family ever has. I walked toward the door, ignoring my mother's pleas to stay and talk more. My father called after me, his voice uncharacteristically uncertain. For once, he wasn't in control of the situation. How long do you need? He asked. When will we see you again? I turned at the door. I don't know. I need time to figure out if having you in my life is worth the pain you cause. The drive back to Boston was surreal. I felt hollow, but somehow lighter, as if I'd set down a heavy burden I'd been carrying my entire life. I cried at times, but they weren't the desperate tears of the night before. They were tears of grief for the family relationship I had always wanted but never had. Back in Boston, I sought professional help. My therapist validated my decision to create boundaries, explaining that sometimes stepping back is the healthiest choice. We established a plan 3 months of complete communication break to give me space to heal and my family time to reflect on their behavior. Those 3 months were difficult but necessary. I focused on self-care, spending time with friends who valued me and rebuilding my sense of self-worth outside of my family's perception. I worked through feelings of guilt and doubt, reminding myself that I deserved basic respect and inclusion. With my therapist's guidance, I learned that my worth wasn't tied to my parents' ability to see it. I began to truly believe that their treatment of me reflected their limitations, not mine. As summer turned to fall, I felt stronger and more centered than I had in years. The pain hadn't disappeared entirely, but it no longer controlled me. I had reclaimed my power by setting boundaries, perhaps for the first time in my life. During our 3-month separation, my parents made numerous attempts to contact me. Calls, texts, even a surprise visit to my apartment that I refused to answer. Each time I held firm to the boundary I had established. This wasn't about punishing them, but about protecting myself while I healed. In early October, I received a handwritten letter from Olivia. Unlike our parents, she had respected my request for space, sending only this single communication. In it, she expressed genuine remorse, acknowledging the favoritism she had benefited from throughout our lives. She wrote, "I always saw our family through my experience, which was one of constant support and praise. I never truly understood what it was like to be you, always on the outside looking in. I'm so sorry I didn't see it sooner." After discussing it with my therapist, I agreed to meet Olivia for coffee at a neutral location in Boston. When I saw her at the cafe, she looked different, somehow less confident than the golden child I'd grown up with. "Thank you for meeting me," she said after we ordered. "I wasn't sure you would." "I almost didn't," I admitted. "But I wanted to hear what you had to say." Olivia took a deep breath. "After you left that day, everything changed. I couldn't stop thinking about what you said about me never standing up for you. You were right. I benefited from their favoritism my entire life and never questioned it." She explained that after our confrontation, she had gone through old family photos and videos, watching them with new eyes. She noticed patterns she'd never seen before: how our parents would redirect conversations to focus on her achievements, how they lavished her with attention while barely acknowledging me. "I confronted them," she said. "We had a huge fight about it. I told them I couldn't believe how they'd treated you all these years and how ashamed I was to have accepted it as normal." According to Olivia, our parents had been in denial at first, defensive and dismissive. But as weeks passed without hearing from me, something shifted. My absence from their lives created a space where truth could finally enter. "Dad broke down one night," Olivia told me. "He admitted that he always found it easier to connect with me because I was more like Mom, more outgoing. He said he never knew how to relate to you because you reminded him of himself at your age before he learned to be more sociable." My mother apparently had her own revelation. She confessed that she had unconsciously favored Olivia because she saw her as needing more protection and guidance, while viewing me as self-sufficient to the point of not needing parental support. "They're in therapy now," Olivia said, "both individually and as a couple. They asked me not to tell you because they wanted to respect your boundaries, but I thought you should know they're trying to understand why they did what they did." A week after meeting with Olivia, I received a formal letter from my parents. Unlike their previous attempts at contact, this one acknowledged their failures in detailed, specific terms. They took responsibility for the pain they had caused, made no excuses, and expressed a desire to make amends if I was willing to give them that chance. They had also, according to the letter, established a trust fund for me equal to Olivia's, though they emphasized that they understood money couldn't repair the emotional damage they had caused. After careful consideration and discussions with my therapist, I agreed to a structured family therapy session. Walking into that office was one of the hardest things I'd ever done, but also one of the most necessary. My father, the proud surgeon who rarely showed emotion, broke down in tears as he apologized for failing me as a father. My mother acknowledged her unconscious favoritism and the damage it had caused. For the first time, I felt truly seen by my parents. We established a new relationship built on honesty and clear boundaries. I made it clear that I wasn't interested in their money but in genuine recognition and inclusion. The trust fund was appreciated but secondary to the emotional work we needed to do. Healing didn't happen overnight. Our first holiday together after the confrontation was awkward but genuine. We're still navigating this new territory where truth is spoken and old patterns are called out when they emerge. Sometimes we stumble, but we're all committed to creating a healthier family dynamic. The experience taught me that sometimes you have to be willing to walk away to create the possibility of something better. By standing up for myself, I changed not just my relationship with my family, but how I value myself. I no longer measure my worth by their ability to see it. The invisible daughter finally became visible not just to them, but more importantly to herself. Have you ever had to stand up to family members who treated you unfairly? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more stories about finding your voice and setting healthy boundaries. Remember, sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to walk away until others learn to respect your worth. Thank you for listening, and I hope my journey helps you find the courage to honor your own.